In Addis Ababa, a shock has just rippled across the globe. Ethiopia, long seen as a nation struggling with energy scarcity, has suddenly declared a future powered not by borrowed dreams, but by clean sovereign ambition. With a historic handshake, Ethiopia signed a nuclear pact with Russia's Rosatom, a move that challenges decades of prescriptions handed down by Western capitals. For years, Africa was told to wait, to depend on loans, to purchase technology instead of building it. But this time, the script has been flipped.
3 months ago, Ethiopia made a move that sent shockwaves through Washington, Brussels, and Paris. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed stood before thousands in Addis Ababa in September 2025 and announced something that Western governments were not prepared to hear.
Your Excellency, Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, Excellencies, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking President Putin for the invitation and the warm welcome extended to me and my delegation. It is an honor to join you at the opening of the World Atomic Week, a gathering of minds committed to the promise of science for a cleaner, more equitable future. Ethiopia stands at a pivotal moment. Our youths are vibrant, our cities are modernizing, our industries are growing, and our economy is among the fastest rising in the world. But our ambitions are higher. Ambitions that demand reliable, clean, and scalable energy. Hydropower, solar, and wind have carried us far.
Ethiopia was joining the nuclear age. It wasn't a secret weapons program or a safety crisis that sparked emergency meetings in Western capitals. It was something far more symbolic and far more threatening to the established global order. For the first time, an African nation declared that it did not need Western approval to access nuclear power. Ethiopia's message was simple but groundbreaking. Africa can chart its own technological future without waiting for permission. To understand why this decision matters, picture a simple scene. It is 8 p.m. in Addis Ababa. A brilliant student sits hunched over a notebook trying to finish homework by candlelight. The power is out again, the third blackout of the week. This is daily life for millions of Ethiopians. Out of the country's 120 million people, less than half have access to reliable electricity. It is a bitter paradox. Ethiopia, the country that gave the world coffee and prides itself on never being colonized, still struggles to provide stable power for its citizens. For more than a decade, Ethiopia placed its hopes on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD. The dam cost $13 billion, sparked endless disputes with Egypt, and took 13 years to complete. The project was a symbol of national pride, but also of fragility. At one point, then-President Donald Trump casually suggested that Egypt should blow up the dam, exposing just how vulnerable Ethiopia's dependence on hydropower really was. Water can be weaponized. Rivers can dry. Political pressure can strangle an entire nation's energy security. Ethiopia's leaders recognized that relying solely on hydropower made them a target. Nuclear energy, by contrast, offers a constant 24/7 supply of electricity that is immune to droughts and less vulnerable to external threats. Western officials say their concern is about safety, governance, and non-proliferation. Those are legitimate worries. Nuclear power is complex, expensive, and risky. But analysts across Africa argue that the real fear is different: the collapse of Western control over who gets to access advanced technology. For decades, technological sovereignty has been tightly regulated. Advanced tools like nuclear energy, aerospace technology, and even certain forms of digital infrastructure were kept behind gates controlled by Washington, Paris, London, and Brussels. By signing its deal with Russia, Ethiopia is openly challenging this system. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed framed it as a matter of destiny. It is our destiny, he declared, to lead Africa into a new era of technological sovereignty and energy self-sufficiency. Russia, through its state nuclear agency Rosatom, welcomed the deal as a model of new partnerships for peaceful nuclear futures across Africa. Unlike Western institutions, which often attach political and economic conditions to technology transfers, Russia is offering access with fewer strings. This new openness is already rippling across the continent. Nigeria is exploring small modular reactors. Kenya has long held nuclear ambitions. Ghana is in advanced talks. Egypt, which once held regional energy leverage, now faces a future where Ethiopia may become fully energy independent. When Ethiopia announced its nuclear deal in September 2025, the reaction in Western capitals was swift and uneasy. But in Moscow, the response was very different. Russia saw an opportunity, not only to gain influence in Ethiopia, but to reshape the entire technological map of Africa.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a bilateral meeting on Wednesday on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. The Russian leader called Ethiopia's integration into the group an important step, hailing the nation's closeness. Their diplomatic ties date back more than a century. Our country's positions on most global and regional issues are quite often close. We appreciate that Ethiopia supports most Russian initiatives in the United Nations. In his remarks at the 16th BRICS summit in Kazan, Abiy Ahmed called for strong intra-BRICS trade in key sectors and investment. Ethiopia formally joined the group earlier this year.
Kenya, long interested in nuclear energy, now sees Ethiopia's bold step as encouragement to accelerate its own plans. Ghana is deep in negotiations, and even countries like Uganda and Tanzania are beginning to study feasibility options. The speed of these discussions reveals something important. African governments no longer see nuclear power as an unattainable dream. Ethiopia's leap has lowered the psychological barrier. If one African nation can strike a deal and move forward, others believe they can too. In Washington and Brussels, policy papers are circulating with titles like Managing Nuclear Risks in Africa and Governance Challenges of African Nuclear Ambitions. Publicly, these reports frame their concerns around safety and non-proliferation. Privately, officials worry about losing control of the technological narrative. Some Western donors are already discussing conditional aid policies, tying financial assistance to Ethiopia's nuclear decisions. International institutions such as the World Bank are under pressure to avoid financing nuclear-related projects.
Ethiopia is set to inaugurate Africa's biggest hydroelectric dam. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will power homes and industries across East Africa, but is sparking tensions with Egypt and Sudan over the flow of the River Nile. For more, our chief Africa correspondent Jennifer Zabazaja joins us from Johannesburg. Jennifer, this has been 14 years in the making, finally being inaugurated. Talk to us about the significance of this dam, perhaps before we talk about some of the controversies surrounding it.
Exactly, Jumana. Today is really the culmination of a years-long push, as you were just alluding to there. 14 years of delays. There's been disputes, even potentially war threats, and reportedly even deaths. But Ethiopia is officially going to be inaugurating this $4 billion hydropower dam, set to be the biggest hydropower plant on the continent, and also one of the biggest in the world. Now, the significance of it is what you had just pointed out there. They are hoping, the ambitions of this project is to hopefully generate power for Africa's second most populous nation that can help, of course, electrify a number of Ethiopians that do not have power, but also they're hoping to become a major player in the hydropower export industry, not just regionally, but hopefully globally. And we've actually heard from Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who suggests it could generate $1 billion a year and also help the country with foreign currency inflows.
For Africans in the diaspora, many of whom work in nuclear facilities abroad, Ethiopia's gamble opens the possibility of bringing their skills back home. Still, the gamble is immense. Success could transform Ethiopia into Africa's South Korea, a country that harnessed advanced technology to leap into industrial power. It could redraw the global manufacturing map, moving industries from Asia to Africa, powered by reliable, clean nuclear energy. Failure, however, would reinforce the skepticism of Western critics. It would saddle Ethiopia with debt, leave half-built reactors as monuments of overreach, and potentially re-entrench the very gatekeeping the country is trying to escape. This is the fine line Ethiopia now walks, between a technological revolution and a costly miscalculation. Critics worry about the risks. Nuclear accidents, though rare, are catastrophic when they occur. The country is already struggling with internal conflicts, displacement, and economic strain. Adding nuclear reactors to this volatile mix seems reckless to some. Ordinary citizens voice simple but powerful questions. Will nuclear power lower my electricity bill? Will it really end the blackouts that disrupt my children's education? Or will it become another mega project that enriches elites while ordinary people continue to live in darkness? These questions reflect the core challenge. Nuclear energy is not just about reactors. It is about governance, transparency, and accountability. Without strong institutions, even the most advanced technology can become a liability. The broader African awakening. Still, Ethiopia's move has already sparked something bigger than itself. Across the continent, young Africans are enrolling in nuclear engineering programs in Russia, China, and India. They are preparing to return home with knowledge that could transform their countries. For the African diaspora working in nuclear facilities abroad, in Canada, the United States, and the UK, Ethiopia's project has ignited conversations about coming back. For decades, these professionals have contributed their expertise to foreign industries. Now, for the first time, they see opportunities to apply their skills at home. The dream is larger than Ethiopia. It is of Pan-African nuclear research centers, African-owned nuclear companies, and continental cooperation that could turn Africa into a technological competitor on the global stage. The risks of failure. But let's not ignore the dangers. If Ethiopia fails, the consequences will be severe. It could plunge the country deeper into debt, waste billions of dollars, and reinforce the skepticism of Western critics who insist that Africa is not ready for advanced technology. A failed project would not only weaken Ethiopia, but also discourage other African nations from pursuing nuclear power. The stakes, then, are continental. Success could make Ethiopia a model, Africa's equivalent of South Korea, a country that leaped from aid dependency to high-tech industrial power in a generation. Failure could re-entrench technological colonialism, leaving Africa once again at the mercy of external powers. The insider truth. Here is the truth often left out of mainstream coverage. This isn't just about Ethiopia. It is about the collapse of a century-old system of technological control. For too long, advanced technology was concentrated in Western hands, while Africa was relegated to resource extraction. Ethiopia's nuclear move tears at that arrangement. Whether Russia is acting out of genuine partnership or geopolitical self-interest is a valid question. But what cannot be denied is that Russia and China are offering what the West has withheld: access to technology with fewer political strings. That changes the game. Now African leaders must decide, will they work within the old system, accepting Western gatekeeping, or will they explore alternative partnerships to build technological independence? Ethiopia's path is a gamble, a high-stakes bet on the future. It requires flawless execution, careful safety protocols, and deep public trust. But it also embodies Africa's determination to stop being locked out of advanced industries. This is not just about Ethiopia's reactors. It is about whether the continent can claim its place in the technological future. It is about whether African children will continue to do homework by candlelight, while their countries export resources to power other nations, or whether they will grow up in a world where Africa powers itself, on its own terms. The world is watching. Will Ethiopia's gamble succeed, or will it collapse under the weight of financial strain and political pressure? Will Africa finally break free from technological subordination, or will the old system reassert itself? Now it's your turn. What do you think about Ethiopia's nuclear gamble? Do you see it as a bold step toward independence, or a dangerous risk with too many uncertainties? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Support this work by liking the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on Africa's unfolding story.